This is Patrick from WSOU 89.5 FM, the loudest rock, here with Ian Hill from Judas Priest. How you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. So Judas Priest was actually my first concert when I was 12 years old. So this is a full circle moment for me. So I'm really happy to be doing this. So we have a lot to talk about because 2022 is a big year for Judas Priest. You are on your 50th anniversary tour. I want to talk about the origin of the band. Where did this band begin?
We began in a small town just north of Birmingham called West Bromwich. That was in about 1969 when Ken Downing, myself, and a drummer called John Ellis got together and just formed a little band. We were all, brand new to the game. We were all learning our trade. Sometime later, I think it was about 1970, something like that. It was late 69 when we met. About sometime in the autumn 1970, Alan Atkins joined from a band that was going at the time that was also called Judas Priest. We weren't called Judas Priest at the time. And we just rehearsed really for the rest of the year. By early 1971, we were ready to go and decided we needed a name for the band, and couldn't really think of anything better than Judas Priest. And Alan says, "Well, I'll call the other guys in the original band and see if they mind us using the name." Unfortunately, they didn't. They'd all moved on. They'd done other things, so they didn't need it. That's where the name came from. We carried on then until about 1973. Drummer changes. We had two or three drummers. John Ellis left. Work commitments. He was the only one of us who got a decent job, and he didn't want to pack it in, And then Alan Moore, he came along and did his first stint with the band. He left only a few months after he joined to go and join a band made up of friends of his. And then Chris Campbell came along, and he was with us right up until Al Atkins had to leave because of his wife getting pregnant. And we weren't earning any money in those days, so he had to go and get a job, And not long after that, Chris left as well, leaving Ken and myself. And I was dating Rob's sister, and she said, "Why don't you give Rob a try?" So we did, and the rest is history, as it were. That was in probably autumn 73, the fall 73.
Yeah, sounds amazing. And I'm curious what this early British heavy metal scene was like with you guys and Black Sabbath, when they were called Earth. And there was a lot of these bands with this new dark sound. What was the scene like in England during this time?
Yeah, but it's all very experimental. I mean, there was no blueprint there, We were playing things that were heavily influenced by our idols and the people that we were listening to, And the heavy metal thing is something that evolved over a period of time. It probably took at least, I don't know, probably about 1980 by the time everything had sorted itself out, and the musical direction, the image, and the whole thing was more defined then, and everything up until that point really was experimental. I mean, in our sort of our earlier stuff, there's little reggae hints, there's jazz hints, there's blues hints, and all these are influences that we picked up when we were younger, All that has since been sort of evolved out, if you know what I mean, and we're sort of our own influence now. And we just felt for a long time now we've just done what comes out, basically. Like I say, there still isn't a blueprint, but basically because you're learning all the time, you never stop learning. We're still learning now, and with each project that we do, we try and take a step forward, try and make it different, a little bit better. Same with the live scene as well, try and give people something new every time.
Yeah, definitely. You just said how you're always trying to improve with each album to the next, but I want to talk about your first album, because you said that by early 70s you had the lineup with Rob, but in 74 your first album, Rock-a-Rolla, which was produced by Roger Bain, who produced for Black Sabbath, was recorded. What was your first experience recording an album like in the studio?
Oh, well, back then it was primitive by today's standards.
Yeah.
It was a very poor record deal. The record company didn't have a great deal of money, so we were working overnight because the studio rental was cheaper, basically, and we slept in the van outside the studio during the day. Went to people's houses to get showered and what have you. Well, it was totally new to us. I mean, we'd done a couple of demos, but only in sort of amateurish studios, really. Just something for our manager to give out to the record companies. And then, of course, you hit the bigger studios, the Island Studios and the Olympic Studios, Trident, and all these big studios of the time. And they were enormous, compared to what we'd been used to. And of course, the equipment was phenomenal, up to date. Although it was all still mechanical, it was all still analog and probably steam powered at the end of the day. But that was it. I mean, we made a record and it was vinyl. These are the days before even cassettes came out. And yeah, it was an absolute trip. We none of us really got much of an idea what we were doing studio wise. I think if we did, the production on it probably would have been a bit better. I think we let a lot of things go. Basically because we knew no better, But with hindsight, I mean, it was a good. I mean, I'll tell you what, it's still one of my proudest moments is to walk into your local record store and see your record, and it's on the shelf there, and there's the Stones and the Beatles, and and Cream and Heritage and Fleetwood Mac and Free and all these people, yours is there amongst them, and you think it doesn't matter what happens now, that isn't going away, that's there for posterity. And like I say, as poorly produced as it was, the second album, of course, we had a better idea what was going on, and the difference in production was tremendous,
Yeah, absolutely. And so you have your first record, Rock-a-Rolla. It's in the record store. You guys are the real deal now. But after Rock-a-Rolla, you guys started to have your much more powerful kind of trademark Judas Priest sound. What led to the shift in sound from more of a hard rock style to kind of heavy metal that we know today?
Yeah, there's no. I mean, we were very much music orientated rather than vocal orientated. Rob might disagree with that, but that's the way the rest of us were thinking.
Yeah.
But and of course, we wanted to basically show off. We wanted to show off what we were capable of doing, and so we went off in a more progressive. In a more progressive direction. You got a long stretch of a song with not a great deal happening. Then, well, we can put something in there. There's loads of time. We can do this, we can do that, and that's how it evolved. Like I say, there's all kinds of influences in there. There's pop, there's jazz, there's a little bit of classical in there, all kinds of stuff. And until you start weaving from side to side, and you see that straight road suddenly in front of you, and then there's no looking back after that. You've got your direction.
Yeah, definitely. You just said how after your first album, you're very music oriented. You wanted to show off. I think one of the best examples of this is Unleashed in the East, which was your first live album, which came out in '79. One of my favorite live albums. It came out around the same time as No Sleep Till Hammersmith as well. And during this time in the late '70s, what did a Judas Priest live show look like?
Well, it wasn't as enormous as it is now. Obviously, we were still. I mean, we didn't earn a great deal of money really until probably '82, when Scream for Vengeance came along. Everything we were earning, we were putting back into the band. It was better instruments and amplifiers, a better van, maybe another roadie to look after us, another technician. So it was comparatively modest. But it's another thing we put the money into. We tried to buy another light, or another spotlight, or a floodlight, maybe a strobe or something, and it all built up as we went along. And basically every show we threw everything we had at it. Everything we had was on stage, and of course then you start to you earn a bit of money, you get successful then, and then you can get the bigger, you get the special staging, and you get your huge backdrops and your actual staging pieces, and production pieces and things. But it took a long time to get to that stage. In fact, everybody was the same. I mean, I can remember seeing sort of Cream in our local dance hall. They just came on. They had nothing. They just set up. There they were, amplifiers, PA, and a curtain behind the stage, and that was it. They got up and play. So the production, the stage production, sort of evolved along with the bands.
Yeah, definitely. You just said during this time, everything you made from live shows, it all went back into the band. I noticed looking at your discography, you guys were really working your off during this time. I saw 76 was Sad Wings of Destiny, 77 Sin After Sin, 78 Stained Class, 79 Hellbent for Leather. Then 80s come around. 1980 was British Steel, 81 was Point of Entry, and then 1982 is Screaming for Vengeance. What do you think led to the amount of consistency that Judas Priest had during this time, putting out an album every year? Because that's something that's unheard of nowadays.
We're just prolific, and we were young. We wanted to do it. We had this boundless enthusiasm, and as soon as we finished the tour, we couldn't wait to get into a recording studio and start it up all over again, and that continued really right the way up to probably Painkiller. There's a bit of a gap between Painkiller and between Ram Down and Painkiller, but that's the way it was. I mean, with hindsight, it cost me 2 marriages because you're never at home,
Yeah.
I missed my first son almost completely. He's grown up, and I look back and it was a really, really sad thing, not that it's affected him in any way. Well, either of us really. We've always been very close, but he was very much brought up by his mum. And then, like I say, it's just the enthusiasm and the incentive, and you've got this drive behind you, and you can't imagine yourself not doing it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. You have time off, and you're thinking, "Oh, no, what do we do?" So you go and start again. It's changed a bit now. We're all getting older now, and we can't keep up that work rate anymore. But we still do as much as we can.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. And 2022 also saw the 40th anniversary of Screaming for Vengeance, probably a fan favorite of Judas Priest fans. This one had Got Another Thing Coming, Screaming for Vengeance, Electric Eye, and of course, countless other deep cuts. What can you tell us about the recording of this album?
It was done. It was started out in an island in the Mediterranean, a Spanish island called Ibiza. They had a decent studio there. Why, I don't know, but it did. I decided to record it there, which is a bit dangerous because it's a holiday island and there's multiple distractions there, so there wasn't probably as much work done as there probably should have been. But we ended up finishing it off in a studio in Orlando, in Florida. It was BJ Studios, I think it was. That's long gone now. It went a long time ago, and we finished it off there. And that, I think, was the first time we'd recorded anything in America, and it was just it was convenient. Everything was convenient in the States, and it was a great time. But we were Screaming. When we'd almost completed the album, we discovered we were a song short. Like I say, it was in the time of vinyl, and you could only get a certain amount of playing time on a vinyl record before it started to deteriorate, because the closer the grooves were, the shallower they were, and the less information were. It was quieter, it sounded tinny, so there was it's about 40 minutes, and I think we were about something like 38 minutes, and we thought, well, yeah, let's put something else on, and that's when we did You've Got Another Thing Coming. We put it together in the studio, not together, in record time. And of course, that's the one that everybody picked up on, 2 or 3 lead breaks would have been longer. That wouldn't have come along at all,
Yeah.
But it did. And AM radio, what these days would be called mainstream media, AM radio, rather than rock radio, that picked up on it, And of course, it was getting played on your car radio when you're going to work, and in in a factory if you got a radio on. And it was sort of mass exposure there, for a good month or so, and that gave us a real kickstart in the States. We were becoming popular anyway, but that sort of turbocharged everything and gave us an immense boost. And I think the success of the band owes a hell of a lot to that one song.
Yeah, and 40 years later, you guys are on tour. You're playing the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale on October 18th. What's it like to see your fans, both your older fans and your newer, younger fans, singing along to "You Got Another Thing Coming" when it was just a last minute time filler for the album, pretty much?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, the thing is the younger fans. I mean, where the hell do they come from? They must have come with their parents one day, But it says something about the band, and probably why we've been successful is because we've been trying to take that step forward with each album. It's kept the band current. It's kept it relevant, if you like, and younger people can grasp onto that, because we like I say, we're keeping it contemporary, if you like. And it's a great thing to see, all these young faces in the audience. And it's not good news for us. It's just good news for heavy metal music in general, And of course, there's old friends there as well. There's a complete spectrum. There's people at the show that are my age, late 60s, early 70s, right the way down to 14, 15-year-olds, and it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, definitely. And something else we got to mention is that Judas Priest finally is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, or this term. What does it mean to you to receive this award?
It's always great to be recognised by your peers.
Yeah.
It's different to your fans liking something that you're doing. I mean, your peers are people who do it themselves and they know what goes into it, and for them to recognise you and to put you up for this nomination and eventual acceptance is something special, and it is an honour. After all being said, it is an honour to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what we talked about the day, all the history, all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this band, definitely well deserved. We're running out of time here, but there's one question that I have to ask you because it's my favorite question to ask bands here at WSOU. If you could send one Judas Priest song out to aliens for them to hear, which song do you think it would be?
Oh, I think I'd send out Dissident Aggressor. It's one of my favourite songs, if not my favourite song, And I think it gives the essence of the band. I mean, that song is 3 minutes long, that's all. And it's basically 2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. And the only thing that's overdubbed are the lead breaks and a little bit of harmony vocal. Other than that, it's just pure. It's raw, and it's great. And it's why I love it so much, And I'd flog that song to anybody.
Yeah, I figured you'd have a good answer for that because looking at the artwork for the Priest album covers too, a lot of very otherworldly, big robot kind of stuff in there. So yeah, I was expecting a good answer for that. So Ian, thank you so much for doing this. Make sure you come out to see Judas Priest at Nassau Coliseum on October 18th. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, yeah, come see the show. It'll be tremendous. Yep, you won't be disappointed. Be there or be square.
All right, fantastic. That is happening, as well as Screaming for Vengeance turns 40, also being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a big year for Judas Priest. So glad we were able to do this. Thank you.
Okay, Patrick, it's been a pleasure, mate. Anytime. Be safe.
Absolutely. This is Patrick, WSOU 89.5. Thanks for watching.